Hi there, my name is Matthew, and this interview is a part of SASAH's Alumni Outreach Project, where we reach out to our alumni and engage with their ideas on what SASAH is and how this kind of new and very unique type of teaching has translated into either their graduate studies or their careers. Today, I'm joined with Cassandra Haley. She's from the graduating class of 2020, and she has a Bachelor of Science, and she has an Honours Specialization in genetics and a major in SASAH. Is that right, Cassandra? All good?
That's correct.
Right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. Kind of despite everything that's happening right now with quarantine and the protests, trying to stay sane. But yeah, it's a good time to
Stay busy.
I'm busy. Thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate your coming to talk to me, and I really think that as students will find your insights and your experiences really, really valuable. So thank you again.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm always happy to come back and talk about SASAH. I mean, it was such a great experience for me. So, if there's anything I can do to help any high school students out there thinking about it, then I'm happy to come back and chat for a while.
Awesome. Sounds good. So I guess kind of just to kickstart this interview, I guess I'll ask the same question that I've been asking everyone basically, which is, in your own words, what is SASAH? Because as you know, SASAH is a very new and unique program. There's nothing quite like it. So now that you graduated and you have kind of the extensive experience of all 4 years of SASAH, how would you define SASAH in your own words?
Well, for me, SASAH was a very personal program. It contrasted a lot with my experiences in the Faculty of Science being so huge. It was a community of like-minded people that were, curious and interested and driven to explore ideas and new disciplines and to be there for each other and to learn these things together and to grow and develop over 4 years with my cohort was one of the best experiences of my time at university, because we all grew so much throughout our years, and we went through the same experiences with our professors and our courses and our classes, and we pushed each other in discussions, talking about whatever subject matter we were studying. But it was a home base for me, and a really strong community of amazing people that I was so glad to have the opportunity to meet. So
okay, awesome. That sounds really good. So you kind of touched on your experience in the Faculty of Science, and I just find that really interesting. So I was wondering, how did you find that balance between the arts and the sciences and kind of being in those 2 different worlds? What was that like? Tell me about that experience.
What that was like, I mean, the best sum up for that was it was pretty hectic. Balance, was easier in some semesters than others, depending on the course load. I had some semesters that were more heavy with SASAH courses and some that were more heavy with science courses. So it was interesting to, keep all those balls in the air going and be thinking about whatever we're talking about in art history in second year SASAH, and, thinking about my Orgo midterm next weekend, and oh my gosh, I got to cram all this stuff, but I also have to write this really wild essay.
Wow.
From a science perspective, it's like, why am I talking about this? Why am I reading this? Why do we care about this kind of stuff? But then from the SASAH perspective, it's like, well, this is important to help you learn how to communicate about things and learn about things that you wouldn't have had the opportunity to learn about otherwise, and to think critically about new things, and just to pick up on those soft skills, those communication skills that you just frankly don't have time for in science, because they're so busy just cramming all this knowledge into your head in 4 years before you go off and do whatever comes next. So the balance wasn't always quite there, but it was nice just to have that, like I said, that home base in SASAH. I had one SASAH course all the way through 4 years up until this year, which was nice just to come back to, my cohort and our discussions, and just like take a step back from science and realize, the world is bigger than whatever esoteric little genetics subject that I'm talking about that day, and just to think big picture, because I'm a pretty broad kind of thinker person, and so I really appreciated having the outside perspective of SASAH to bring into my studies in science, and then again to bring in the details for my science degree into whatever discussions we were having in SASAH. And it's fun. I mean, being that person that can talk about whatever's going on in the news and science and explain that to my peers, and then have them question me in turn with, you know, their critical thinking and their perspectives on that as well. So it's just nice, you know, having a finger in all those different pies, I guess you could say.
That's actually really cool. I like how you're able to, I guess, translate skills or perspectives across those faculties. What like key skills do you think helped you, or that you really like cross-listed? So what science skills did you bring to SASAH, and what SASAH skills did you bring to science?
Well, I guess I'll start with SASAH to science, because that's what I intend to do long term anyways. One of the best things that SASAH gave me was the critical thinking that we took to all our readings, all our assignments, everything we ever interacted with in SASAH, we were pushed to evaluate and analyze and just think about the context, think about the work itself, think about its legacy, and what it now means to a modern audience. And just to be able to step back from a piece that from whatever you're studying and think about the larger context of it, was super helpful for getting you to have a broader perspective, and to be able to come at something from different perspectives, to analyze it, whatever it may be. And just like that skill set of how you initially interact with whatever new piece of information was super beneficial to go into the world of science with, to take, you know, a more critical perspective on whatever news release is coming out, because of course, you know, there's the scientific study, and then there's the media's interpretation of it, and then that affects obviously what gets into the popular culture. So to be able to take that apart from both the scientific perspective and the science perspective, was super beneficial. And I mean, especially with all this COVID stuff going on right now. I mean, my degree was in genetics, so I know absolutely, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I have done many PCR tests in my life. So, you know, to be able to explain that to all my friends and family that are just curious, I mean, what does this mean when they say they sequenced COVID, and what vaccine, you know, what does that look like, that timeline, and how does that happen, and all that kind of stuff. To be able to explain that to a general audience is something that I had a lot of experience with in SASAH. Sort of translating whatever was going on in the world of science to the broader audience was something that, you know, I was pushed to do often in SASAH and appreciated the chance to do, because science communication is something that's just so vital, especially in this day and age when headlines just, you know, hit Twitter like that, and then suddenly it's a whole other story. It was really important to practice that, and yeah, it's never been more important in my opinion. So
yeah, no, I agree. Like, I kind of love how those two mesh really, really well, and allow you to kind of explore modern concepts really, really well. I think that's really important too. And I'm sure a lot of SASAH students who are looking at SASAH and science and probably think that's really weird or really unconventional can kind of your kind of pathway and really be able to understand how meaningful and important it is to kind of have a foot in both. It's really cool. So now that you're graduating.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, and it's perfect in my opinion for those students that in high school can't decide what they want to do long term. You know, if they're interested in more than one subject, you don't have to just stick with one subject through your whole degree. You know, it's your post-secondary education, you're paying for it, it's what you want to do with it. And I think that was what was so great about SASAH, is that you could make it what you wanted it to be and what you needed it to be. Going forward, it wasn't as constrained as, you know, other programs like McMaster's Arts and Science, where they have been doing it for ages and ages, and they have their set courses and they have bigger cohorts, so it's not quite as personable as SASAH is. And that was just, I mean, one of the benefits of going into a new smaller program was just that you get to make it what you need it to be, which was super beneficial going forward for what courses I needed to pick up.
Okay, I think your audio can go there, but I think, yeah, no, I agree. I kind of love that response. So now that you're graduating, because you just graduated, right? Or you're about to graduate, 2020.
Yes.
Yeah, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, my graduation would have been tomorrow.
Wow. Okay, so your tenure in SASAH has kind of come to a close. So I was kind of wondering, kind of on the brink of, I want to say, engaging in stuff outside of Western and outside of SASAH, and kind of putting that final capstone on SASAH. How do you think SASAH has prepared you for your next steps, whether that be for your career or for graduate studies if you're planning it? Like, what are some key elements of SASAH you think you can really take away looking back?
Well, one of the biggest things that comes to mind with SASAH is that because it was such a small program, our class sizes were under 25 students every single year working with these profs at the top of their field. It really gave me an appreciation for how to have a quality, like engaged conversation with professors and with potential supervisors, just to, get over that barrier coming out of high school, like, oh my gosh, these people have PhDs and they're so, high up in their field and all this kind of stuff. It helps you to realize that, yes, they're very highly qualified and, they've got a lot on their resume, but they're also just people. And they are people who are here to help you do better. And, because they love learning and they love teaching, they just want the best for you. So, you can approach them and talk to them and, develop those skills of, yes, it's networking, but it's also just like, oh, well, why did you do this? And what made you want to do that? And what opportunities got you there and all, and those sorts of stories. I didn't quite get to make that connection with as many professors in science because, the courses were just so big. There's no possibility. So that was definitely one of the biggest things, was just learning how to exist in academia on a more personal level than just like a number, just another grad student kind of thing, because that's the last thing anybody wants. It would be pretty sad to go through your degree and not have those kind of experiences. Looking back, I'm really glad that we got that connection with our professors, for sure.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think when we're in high school, our teachers hype up university professors so much, or make them seem so much more scary than they are. It's like, they're really so much fun, especially SASAH professors. They're always so willing to help, so kind, and they always facilitate the goals. I think, I love what you said about that, because
going to office hours with SASAH professors is just so much fun. You end up talking about anything and everything, right?
Yeah, 100%. I love SASAH profs. Okay, so kind of talking about the more fun side of SASAH and all the cool experiences and relationships that you've built, what do you think is your favorite memory as a SASAH student? First year, second year, third year, fourth year, what memory sticks out to you the most?
There's so many, honestly. And every year was so different too, with a totally different set of professors. And for me, right in the middle of my degree, we had the first director of SASAH, Dr. Joel Faflak, step back from SASAH, and we got Professor Mon in as well. So that was definitely, it almost felt like two different programs between the two directors. And I had a great time equally in both of them. So it's kind of hard to pin down one specific memory because every year was just so different. But there were moments every year when I was just sort of able to take a step back, usually at the end of the year with whatever capstone project we had done, and just sort of take a step back and realize, like, wow, these are some pretty interesting and unique experiences for a science student to be a part of. From trips to art studios to like our class exhibitions that we put together at the end of every year. Who would have ever thought? Like, I'm a genetics student. I don't participate in art exhibitions. It might be normal for a student in arts and humanities, but for a science student to walk into one of those and to participate and to actually get something out of it and enjoy it, was pretty special. When you sort of take a step back and realize, like, what are we actually doing here? But it's not just about what you're doing, it's about how you're doing it and your approach, and just like learning to be flexible with the subject matter and approach it from all angles. So I couldn't really name one experience, but all the way through, you just sort of have this realization that these profs really do love what they do, and you get to see that every week in class and what they're talking about. It's unmatched in the university, for sure.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was so well said. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
No, yeah, no, that kind of hit. I felt that right here. But kind of closing off, kind of on the final note, I guess my last question for you would be to any SASA students who are continuing SASA or to any potential SASA students that are thinking about entering SASA, what advice would you have to give to those students?
What advice? Just get ready to have your entire world turned upside down, because, I mean, your experiences in SASA and the kind of approach to education you get is just so unique, and it's so much fun. You are going to have a blast. It's going to be hard work, but you are surrounded by some of the best people in the university. I mean, your peers will grow with you all the way through SASA. And I mean, even if you don't stick with it, you know, the perspective that you get from just having been a part of that, you know, it's so unique to have that amazing group of people in one room. And I mean, you know, I certainly missed it this year, not having my cohort, having that like Friday afternoon lecture, like how's everyone's week been, you know, and just to have that home base, it's so special in university for sure. So you're in for a fun time.
Thank you. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Cassandra, for joining me today. I really thought you brought out some really cool aspects of SASA, and I really thought your talking points were amazing and incredible, and I'm sure everyone watching can really relate or can really look forward to all the things that you've said. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
So if any SASA students watching this right now and they're kind of like, oh my God, I need to talk to Cassandra ASAP because I just love her, the way how she talks, and I want to do genetics, how can they reach out to you?
The best way to get in contact would be my email, I suppose. It's chaley3, CHALEY3 @uwo.ca. And I'm happy to chat with any incoming SASA students that are interested in any degree in the Faculty of Science, because I mean, the first year schedule in the Faculty of Science is pretty generic. So I can probably help you. And if not, I mean, I can put you in touch with the right people in academic counseling. Because I know there's a couple of hurdles to get over to merge SASA with science, but you know, I'm happy to help because I think it's a really, really important combination, and the world needs more people like that. So
awesome. Well, on that note, thanks again for joining me. I'll talk to you.
Of course.
Okay, bye.
Okay.